Okay, and lastly, we're gonna deal with the Gauss rifle, and that's sort of a special case because of the new Gauss firing mechanics. Let me demonstrate that. Like I said, the Gauss comes into weapon group 2 for me. There it is. And it's important to make sure that it's not set to chain fire, because with the new, I don't know how it was before, but with the new firing mechanics for the Gauss, it actually won't fire if you have it set on chain. Let me demonstrate that. That was a shot, and now I'm going to set it to chain fire, and I'm pressing down the trigger. I'm holding down the trigger, and nothing happens. So make sure your Gauss is set to group fire and not chain fire. But the special case with the Gauss, a squaddy of mine pointed me to this, and it's really handy, I gotta say. As you can see, once you charge up the Gauss, you have to, since a couple of patches ago, you can't just click and fire the Gauss. You have to hold down the trigger. It'll charge up, and if you don't let go of the trigger, the charge will go away. So you charge it up, let go, and then it fires, right? I usually use the audio cue that you can hear here. This. But when you're in a tight spot, when you're getting shot by enemies left and right, you can't really hear this anymore. And that one green light that goes off, see, now it's yellow, now it's green, it's ready to fire, now it's off. It's not that easy to see. So what I like to do is with this weapon is, I'm not using weapon groups 4, 5, and 6, and I'll never will on this mech. So what I do is I set the Gauss to weapon group 4, 5, and 6 also. The only reason for this is because I don't even have the triggers for 5 and 6 mapped. I think I have the 4 trigger mapped. The only reason for this is so that when I charge up the shot, as you can see now, all the remaining lights turn green once the Gauss rifle is ready to fire. And it's much easier to pick up on that cue than with just one green light. And I think I should mention one more aspect to weapon groupings, and for that I'm going to switch to my garishly painted Battlemaster 1G, because you can actually play around with weapon groups and sort of tweak your mech a little bit that way, especially when you're using certain types of weapons, because as you may or may not know, you can pretty much assign any weapon to any weapon group that you want to. So you can assign weapons to multiple weapon groups. And I'll shall demonstrate why this can be important in just a second. And here we are in the cockpit of that Battlemaster now. And there's two more points I want to make about weapon groupings. And the first one is that you should try at least and set up your weapon groups, like I said before, as logically and as conveniently as you can. And in some mechs, that means that you can, or you should, at least that's what I do,
target acquired,
set up your stuff in a way that'll allow you to fire certain the left mounted weapons with your left mouse button, and the ones that are mounted on the right with your right mouse button. Meaning I have, well, I've changed my build around here a little bit. I'm not running this as it is now, it's just for demonstration. As you can see, I got an Ultra AC5 in the left arm of the Battlemaster, and I got an AC2 in there as well, and the torso mounted weapons are 2 ER large lasers, and for demonstration purposes I put them, one of them on the left side and the other one on the right side. So let me take those out. So what we want to do is we want to map the one laser on the left side to the left mouse button, and the one in the right torso to the right mouse button, which should be pretty obvious why we want to do this, because it'll allow you to step out of cover with just one side and fire only that laser which has a clear line of sight, because you might be standing behind a building partially blocked and you're, say, with your right torso showing and your left torso still behind cover, so your right laser might be able to hit the target in front of you, but your left laser would only hit the building that you're hiding behind or the rock you're hiding behind. So to avoid this, we just simply put the left one in weapon group 1 and the right one in weapon group 2, And the reason for this, of course, is that in my case I have weapon group 1 mapped to the left mouse button and weapon group 2 to the right mouse button. Now, the way this works, since you can't assign weapon groups in the Mech Lab, but you have to do it in-game, the way this works usually is that the game assigns, puts the weapons from left to right in the list here. I mean, meaning that the top weapon, in this case the first ER large laser that I'm selecting right now, is on the leftmost weapon mounted on the mech, and the bottom one, since we only have 2, is the rightmost mounted. At least I think that's how it works. So what we do is we just test it out. We put the first one in the list. This one here, we put it in weapon group 1. We put the second one in weapon group 2. There's no need to set them on chainfire because there's only 1 laser in each group. And then we try this out. I'm going to press the left mouse button. Nope, see, it didn't work the way I thought it would. Damn you, game. Okay, but, you know, no biggie. Now we swap them around, and now it's working as it should. And as you can see, if, say, you know, I'm going to step behind cover here, partial cover. Now I'm targeting this guy here, and as you can see, I fire with my left laser, and I hit him. Oh no, okay, bad positioning on my part, sorry guys. This should work now. No, it's still not working. Well, but I guess you get the general idea, right? Because let's try it here. Okay, say we wanted to fire back there. As you can see, the right one goes past that corner, the left one doesn't really. Now it does. But, you know, the general principle still holds. Especially with those silly invisible walls that we get in the game. Okay, and the last thing I think I want to talk about is, you know, regarding weapon grouping, is, you know, one of those special cases because where it makes sense to assign a single weapon to multiple groups or weapons to multiple groups. And I already talked about how I do it on the Gauss rifle just for convenience and being able to see that more of those green lights. But in this case, it's just about, you know, it's about being able to fire consistently and being able to switch fire rates, which of course pretty much only applies to the Ultra AC5, because the Ultra AC5, when you hold down the firing button, the trigger, it'll jam on you, as you might know. You can kind of circumvent around this, and that's where multiple weapon groups come in handy. What you need to do is you need to have an AC2 also on your mech. At least that's the only combination I seem to have gotten this to work with. You assign both weapons to the same group. In this case, let's take group 3, and you set that group to chainfire. And what should happen now is every time I fire this group, the AC2 and the Ultra AC5 are being fired one at a time, right? One after the other, as not as quickly as possible, but in this case, as you can see, I keep firing, and the Ultra never jams. That's because it's chained together with the AC2, so its firing rate is somehow, you know, somewhat bound to the AC2's. But it also means that the Ultra isn't firing as quickly as it could. Meaning, this is your well, your first. Let's look at it as a dual stage trigger. This is your first stage. Slow rate of fire for the Ultra, but low jams. Now, of course, you want to make the most out of your Ultra in some situations when you got a clean shot and somebody's just standing there out in the open, like this little commander over there. So what you do is you set up those same 2 weapons into another group, make it 4, and you leave that group on group fire. As you can see, weapon group 3 is now on chain. It's blinking black, and the other one is not blinking, so it's set on group fire. That means when you press down the 4 trigger, what will happen is both of them will be fired at the same time, not in chain. But it also means that the Ultra AC5 will fire at its maximum speed, which is the double of the speed that you achieve with the chain fire group. But of course it also means that the Ultra will occasionally jam. So let's try this out here.
New target acquired.
Okay, there we go. There's the weapon jam now. That was highly unusual, being able to fire the Ultra for this long without it jamming up. But there you go. So with this setup, what you can do is, like I said, it's like a dual stage trigger, like a workaround to be able to simulate a dual stage trigger. You use 3 for the slower but safe rate of fire, and you use 4 for the quick rate of fire with the chance of jamming. You can also do this for other. I run this thing with other ballistics also because, like say you have 2 AC2s on your mech. You might want to put them in 2 different groups, one on chain, one on group fire, because the AC2s produce a lot of heat for a ballistics weapon, and if you fire them in group fire, the heat will go up considerably. But there may be situations when you want that extra firepower of them firing in unison instead of one after the other, which is, you know, obviously a slower rate of fire. So when I do that, I pretty much set it up just the way I did it here with the Ultra. I put the 2 AC2s in 3 and 4 and set 3 to chain fire and 4 to group fire. And I guess that concludes my thoughts on weapon groupings, unless I can think of something new, and then I'll make another video. See you guys later.